And I'm sure you're like, nah, this can't happen. I guarantee you I see it all the time. I'm a food tour guide working in Italy, and over the course of the years, I've eaten with countless tourists in countless restaurants, and I've seen the same mistakes being made over and over again. And to help you avoid those mistakes, my colleagues and I compiled this list of the top things to avoid doing when you eat in Italy. And I'm not talking about cappuccino in the afternoon or pineapple on pizza. Those are preferences. And I'll give you my 2 cents on that at the end. But I'm talking about actual mistakes that come from different social norms that they have here to the rest of the world. So if you're planning a trip to Italy or you're even in one of my tours, I salute you because this video is made to help you avoid getting yourself into an embarrassing situation, both for yourself, the people you're with, and the restaurant staff. So stick around. Here we go. Sometimes the waiter will bring you a plate and olive oil and balsamico vinegar because they know Americans do that and Italian Americans do that in the US, but it's not a thing in Italy. Stay patient, keep it for the actual dish. Italians use the bread as scarpetta to absorb the sauce of the food with the bread. I guess what I'm trying to say is the actual mistake to make would be to really ask your waiter to bring out a plate and olive oil and vinegar for you to then fill it up like a soup and start dunking your bread in it. First of all, it costs the restaurant money and it fills you up with bread rather than actual food. So you're kind of wasting a good appetite on it, and it kind of makes you look gluttonous as well. So that's my opinion. Avoid doing that. Avoid these false friends. False friends are the same words that mean something else in a different language. For example, pepperoni is actually chili in Italy, and if you want pepperoni, ask for salami on a pizza. Latte means milk. If you order a latte, you're gonna get milk.
Bevete più latte!
If you want to get what Americans call a latte, order a latte macchiato. Flat white doesn't exist. And finally, if the barista is asking you Americano, he's not asking you your nationality. He wants to know if you want a longer, bigger cup of coffee. Knowing where not to eat. Your time here is limited, and so I really want your meals to be the best possible experience you can have. And part of that is wisely selecting the restaurants you're going to go to. And so I've seen people make these 3 major mistakes when selecting restaurants in Italy. The first is eating near major monuments. And while there's exceptions, you're likely to be paying higher prices for lower quality food. It's just simple economics. There's more people going through. None of them are locals, and people are just sitting down to eat, and so restaurant owners are paying higher rents, and they're not really forced to kind of try to get people to come back here because people are tourists, and so quality is very low. But there are exceptions. There are these historical venues like Caffè Florian at St. Mark's Square or Quadri that are some of the oldest cafe houses in Europe, and they've served celebrities for hundreds of years. And so are they expensive? Yes. Are they tourist traps? Is St. Peter's Basilica a tourist trap? Is the Uffizi Gallery a tourist trap? No, they're just treasures of humanity that the whole world wants to see. And so yes, prices are higher, but you're also paying for the historical venue. One dead giveaway, though, obviously, is the tourist menus. When it says menu turistico and there's a guy hollering at you, telling you, prego, prego, come sit, please, please. Walk, change neighborhoods. You're in the wrong place. You're not going to have a good meal anywhere near here. Then there's the good places that everyone wants to go to. And those are the ones that you can most easily fall into and have an uncomfortable evening. I mean the places that have fallen victims to their own popularity. They are often good restaurants that have gotten so popular because they appeared in blogs and American blogs. And so people are standing in line and they can't keep up with the demand. You can tell these places by going on, say, Google Maps. And if they have like 3, 4, 5,000 reviews over 4 stars, which is good, but like the numbers, the masses of reviews are there. Obviously, you're not going to be able to stroll in there with a party of 4. You're probably going to need to stand in line if you don't have a reservation. And the waiters are going to be busy. They're not going to be able to accommodate you as well. And so I would really try to choose other types of restaurants that have good reviews, but less. Those are the true gems. Look a little in quieter neighborhoods. The local neighborhood trattoria and osteria, those are the places that you want to seek out. Maybe 100, 200 reviews, but over 4 stars. That's a good strategy. And if you're watching this video, I know you're already like that because you clicked on a smaller video from a small channel. And so I salute you. And do the same with the restaurants. Do a little planning in advance and you'll often be pleasantly surprised. Another mistake I see people make is over-planning. I've seen people arrive with Excel sheets of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they have every restaurant planned out. And while, sure, that's fine, but you're setting yourself up for a lot of pressure. I recommend to also leave yourself enough time to get lost and wander. Go into little side alleys, discover new places, sneak through the window. Peek through the window, have a look at the menu and take chances. Go to little trattorias. And it's often if you give yourself the permission to lose yourself that you'll be rewarded with the most authentic experiences. The next mistake is perfect to make if you want to have a nice evening ruined by having the waiters upset at you and you being completely confused. And that is expecting the waiter to solve math equations for you. In Italy, every table gets one receipt. They don't divide bills up per seat number, meaning that the people that you're with and everyone else at the table, what they order gets tallied up into one big receipt. What you do then is up to you, but do not ask the waiters to divide it up for you. Don't start asking the waiter, well, listen, I had the Coca-Cola, but I didn't have any water, and the coperto because I have to, and then, no, don't do that. Just don't do it. They're not gonna do it. Don't ask them to do it because it's gonna put you into this awkward situation where they're gonna have to refuse and you feel exasperated. And so you can tally it up, do what you want. What I recommend you do is draw it even down the line. If you had a little more, chip in a little more. If you had a little less, chip in a little less, and it's all gonna be gravy at the end. Now, if you pay a little more for someone else, does it really matter? Because if you're not ready to dish out €1 or 2 more for the person that you're eating with, should you even be eating with them in the first place? Not knowing the difference between al banco and al tavolo, at the bar or at the table. And it's sometimes quite confusing, but in a nutshell, there's 2 ways to order food or drink in Italy. If you're leaning at the counter at a cafe and you order a caffè, a tramezzino or something, then you eat it at the counter, you're gonna pay a lot less. A coffee will cost you €1.20, a tramezzino will cost you, €2. But if you actually then take it and go sit down with it, that's where the mistake is made. It can come across as you trying to take advantage of that system, whereas you're just making a mistake. But if you want to sit down at the table, you actually go sit down at the table, a waiter will come to you and take your order and you'll pay the corresponding price at the end when they bring you the bill. So understand the difference between al banco, al tavolo. It's a great way to also save some money. I like to go have a cafe all the time. Al banco, it takes me a minute. You go, you say caffè, €1.20 on the counter, espresso, and you're out.
Buongiorno. Che matto! Ancora? No, che dopo mi gira la testa.
This one I genuinely wish was different in Italy, but probably never will be, and that is tap water in restaurants, or the lack thereof. Waiters do not know the existence of tap water in a restaurant. They'll pretend it doesn't exist. Don't even bother asking them for tap water. It's not gonna happen. De facto, when you sit down at a table, the waiter is gonna ask you immediately, frizzante o naturale. What he means is sparkling or still water, bottled, that you will have to pay for at the end. Only €1 or two. The annoying thing is that it's often in plastic water bottles, so, it's less than optimal. I wish there would be a different way, but the best thing is just go for it. Order the bottle of water, drink the water, pay for the water, and call it an evening and go with the flow. The next mistake would be not understanding the right attire for certain kind of establishments. What I mean by that is, I know American men like wearing shorts, American women like tight-fitting sports clothing. And while that's fine in certain places like a trattoria or osteria, no one's gonna say anything. If you go to a place called a ristorante in Italy are usually higher end establishments which have a la carte menu and require a more formal attire. And if you go to a ristorante wearing shorts or Lululemon, then you'll stick out like a sore thumb. I don't know if they're gonna say something per se, but I would just avoid that kind of situation. Wear long pants, wear adequate clothing, and you'll be fine. All right, this next mistake comes from a question that people ask me surprisingly a lot, and I'm always kind of baffled because I don't know. It usually comes when we're sitting at aperitivo and people are drinking, and the bottle is half empty, and I reserved a table at a restaurant, and then people ask me, Sebastian, can we just bring our wine to this next place? And the answer is no. No, you can't bring your wine to another restaurant. BYOB is not a thing in Italy, ever. You can't bring your wine to another restaurant. Alternatively, though, you can easily go there and order the vino della casa, which is surprisingly cheap. I'm talking about half a liter carafe. Even in Venice, Italy's most expensive city, it'll cost you like €8. So make the most of it. Don't bring your wine to other restaurants. There's no excuse though for this next mistake. It's bringing your own food to a restaurant. And I'm sure you're like, nah, this can't happen. I guarantee you I see it all the time. People order a gelato at the main square, and so they can't find anywhere to sit, and then they want to sit and they just bring their gelato to some other terrace where there's people sitting. It's a restaurant, and they sit down. This is something that I think people don't do when they're back home, but they somehow allow themselves to do it when they're in Italy. I even had a restaurant owner recently being quite discouraged because he was even getting bad reviews because his waiters were constantly having to tell people to, well, they didn't order their ice cream here, so please can you go sit somewhere else? And so people are leaving 1-star reviews. And this is horrible. I feel bad for him. He asks me, Sebastian, is it normal in the US to order takeaway food and bring it and sitting at another restaurant? And I'm like, no, not to my knowledge. I don't think people do that in the US. And so he asked me, why do people do it here? And I tell him, I don't know. So I'm asking you, if you know, if you've done this before, or if you've seen other people do it, please let me know in the comments, what is the reasoning behind that? Are you allowed to do this in the US? So in any case, there's no BYOG, bring your own gelato in Italy. If you chose to stand in line and order a gelato to go at the busiest square in the city and you have no place to sit, then that's kind of on you. But if you want to sit down before ordering, you just don't even have to stand in line. You go sit at a table and a waiter will come to you and ask you what you want. You order a gelato and you'll pay a little more, but at least you're sitting down and relaxed. The next mistake would be to eat in public. I mean, in the middle of the square. People do this all the time. I see it happen all the time. They order food and then they go and they walk around with a gelato or even a Big Mac. I had an ex-FBI inspector get pickpocketed because he was eating a Big Mac in the middle of the main square in Florence. You are opening yourself up to being a victim, because nothing screams victim louder to a potential pickpocket in the main square than a tourist eating a burger or a gelato, because you can't even go and defend yourself. Your hands are busy. All right, if you're from Melbourne, Australia, listen up, because this next mistake I do not want to hear you do, and that is complain about the coffee, at least from the very get-go and to people that you don't know. If you don't like the taste of darkly roasted Italian espresso, that's fine. But to say, yeah, the coffee's shit here right from the start, big mistake. The Italians are not going to appreciate it because they have a very old coffee culture that dates back to when Australia was still a colony of convicts, guys. So I know you've got this coffee scene down in Melbourne where it tastes the fresh berries and you know the zodiac symbol of the farmer that harvested it. But just appreciate Italian espresso for what it is. At least try. Be modest about it. I'm not going to go to Melbourne and immediately say that Vegemite is shit. Actually, I'm never going to say that because I love Vegemite, and I'm glad I tried it, and I overcame the excessively salty taste, and I get it now. So do the same with espresso. It's bitter, but that's the fun part of it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. Just now we're getting into the category of preferences, but I really recommend to avoid doing this next mistake, which is ordering spritz and food at the same time. This is for your own sake, because spritz has such an overwhelming taste. Aperol spritz with, like it's strong, it's sparkling, it's sweet, it's bitter. It has a lot of aromas, and they're gonna overpower your dish. Essentially, you're kind of wasting your food by doing that. If you like the mix, go for it, knock yourself out. The waiter shouldn't have anything to say about it. But really, out of the respect for the food and the work that went into it from the kitchen, I recommend to have the spritz with aperitivo, with finger food, and then sticking to wine or water with your dinner. Now finally, here's my 2 cents on these things that you'll hear everyone talk about, which is cappuccino in the afternoon and pineapple on pizza. In my opinion, they're way too overhyped than they deserve to be. First of all, cappuccino in the afternoon. I've seen so many Italians order cappuccino in the afternoon that I think there is no validity to this argument. I've heard flight attendants on United Airlines telling passengers that this is not a thing you should do in Italy. Now, I would take this with a big grain of salt because there's history behind it. There's a bit of a, back in the day, Italians would think that drinking milk in the afternoon is bad for you. But honestly, I think really the weird thing would be to order cappuccino after dinner or ordering coffee during dinner. That is strange for them. It requires them to start the whole coffee machine with the milk, steaming milk also. But, if that's what you like to do, do it. No one should be rolling their eyes at you, especially in the afternoon, which is completely normal. Just know coffee tastes wrong and it is kind of wasting good food. But if that's what you like, you do you.
Chi è che urla?
And then there's the pineapple on the pizza. Does this get strong reactions from Italians? Definitely, yes. They do not like even having those 2 words in the same sentence. That being said, these are the same Italians that enjoy and think it's perfectly normal to put French fries and hot dogs on pizzas. Yes, you'll see them around when you come to Italy. So I don't know. Take that with another big grain of salt. If you go to a restaurant and you like eating pineapple on pizza and you see pineapple on pizza on the menu, who is the waiter to say that you should not be ordering that? If you get eyes rolling, I think he's not doing his job right. You do you, the world's gonna turn. Is it Italian? No. Is it pizza? Let me know in the comments below. The biggest mistake that I see people do all the time in Italy is not traveling. Sure, they're hauling their suitcases across Florence, Rome, and Venice, but they're not engaging with the local culture. They're going at it with their preconceived notions of what Italy should be and tasting only the things that they already know, taking pictures of it, posting it on Instagram, and treating Italy a bit like a hunting trophy to check off their traveling list.
They have many locations. We had no idea there was one in Florence, but there's one in New York City, and we've had it, and we love it. Pizza. Perfect. Classic cheese margarita, and then we got their tomato pie with the garlic and the oregano, and oh my God, the oil.
That is a tourist. That is not a traveler. A traveler engages with the local culture, asks questions, tries new dishes, and Italy is so rich with regional foods and unique ingredients and centuries-old experience in service. So make the most of it. Pasta carbonara is the most beloved pasta dish in Italy, amongst Italians also. So it's normal to always want to order it. The truth is that it's a speciality of Rome, but there's so much regional food in Italy, so much regional pasta dishes and secondis, which is meat and fish, that are often overlooked. So I would really encourage you to not always order pasta alla carbonara or tagliatelle alla bolognese and try something new. Try a new pasta dish that you've never had. Try bistecca alla fiorentina if you're in Florence. If you're in Sicily, try pasta alla norma or nice caponata. If you're in Venice, try a good pasta al nero di seppia or fegato alla veneziana. There's so much regional food that Italy has for you to discover. It would be a shame for you to always just order carbonara and gelato during the entirety of your trip. That's the list. I hope it helped you out. Let me know if I overlooked something, if something's happened to you. Let me know in the comments. Just keep in mind that Italians are really kind, patient, and accommodating people. They've been in the service industry for hundreds of years. So don't sweat it. You do you, just do it with an open mind and you'll be fine. That being said, the next video is about a very special dish that was born in the golden age of the restaurant service industry, really out of a situation where the restaurant accommodated the special needs of a guest and it gave birth to a legendary dish. If you're interested in that, stick around. This is all about regional food and travel advice. So like and subscribe if that interests you, and I'll see you on the next trip.